Today we're going to go over the next lesson about quadratics, and we're going to really learn about the graphs in more detail. So it's basically exactly what we learned yesterday, just in a little bit more detail. All right, everybody knows that we talked about yesterday, standard form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. Everybody knows that, right? So if I gave you this quadratic, which one of these numbers is the A?
3.
Which one is the B?
6.
And which one is the C?
1.
Good. How about for this next one? Which one is the A? -1, because it's the coefficient. Which one's the B?
10.
And the C. All right, moving on. If I give you a quadratic, then you should be able to tell me if it's going to open upward or downward, so basically smiley face or sad face. And you are going to be able to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. Okay, so here's your first quadratic. Is it going to open up or down? Because it's a sad face negative. So it's going to open down. Now, how did I teach you to find the axis of symmetry yesterday? We went and graphed it, right? So if I go graph this quadratic and look at its parabola, -2x squared plus 12x minus 7. It's not really falling, like it's kind of hard to see. Do y'all agree? So I'm going to teach you how to solve for the axis of symmetry, which is also going to help you with the vertex. Okay? Now, on your star chart, if you look at the very bottom, if you don't have it, that's fine, just look with me. If you look at the very bottom, what does it say? It tells you the standard form, which is here. It gives you the vertex form, which you're going to actually learn way more in detail in Algebra 2. It gives you the quadratic formula, which we're going to learn later. And it gives you a formula for what? Doesn't the vertex fall on the axis of symmetry? Yes or no? Y'all remember? So if I have a parabola like this is the vertex. Are y'all with me? That's the vertex. That's the what? Axis of symmetry. So they go together. All right? So the formula for axis of symmetry is x equals -b over 2a. So right here, x equals -2 over b over, I wrote it backwards. I said it correctly, and my brain got ahead of me. -b over 2 times a. Sorry about that. Where did I get this formula? From my formula chart. All right, so if I want to solve for the axis of symmetry, I need the -b. Well, which one of these is in the b position? This is in the B position. Does everybody agree? So I put -12 on top, and then 2 times, which one is in the A position? -2. And that's going to give me the axis of symmetry. So I have -12 over, well, what's 2 times -2? And what's -12 divided by -4? 3. So the axis of symmetry is x equals 3. So how do I solve for the vertex knowing that? The vertex is, we know the x value, but a vertex is a what? It's a coordinate. So I know what? What do we know? The x is, so who can tell me how would I solve for the y? Yeah, plug it in. So everybody look down here. Now this little dash right here is not a negative y. She was just saying like solve for vertex by doing this. So don't just like cross it out if it bothers you. So do y'all see the formula right here is negative 2 times x squared plus 12 times x minus 7? Couldn't I just plug in 3 for x? So I'm going to do negative 2 times 3 squared plus 12 times 3 minus 7. Do y'all know what I'm doing right now? I took the formula and I plugged the 3 in for the x. And I just go type it in my calculator. Could I also just type it in y equals and then find the value of y when x is 3? Yes, but it doesn't work if your x was like a fraction. So make sure you know how to plug it in. So I would do negative 2 times 3 squared plus 12 times 3 minus 7. So what's the value of y when x is 3? There's my answer. Okay, I'm going to have you do as much of this one as you can on your own. So, given this quadratic, don't say it out loud. Circle, would it open up or down? You should have circled up. To find the axis of symmetry, write the formula right here that we wrote up above. And I want you to plug in the numbers for this formula. Quickly. Everybody look, here's your A, here's your what? So if you forgot. So I'm plugging in. Since B was positive 2, it wants negative B, I would write negative 2 over 2 times A, which is 4.
So if it was already negative, you would turn it to a positive?
Very good question. What if B was a minus 2? Well, then you would have a double negative and it would become a positive. There's an example like that. All right, so I have negative 2 over 8. Is that a simplified fraction? So I simplify it and I have negative 1/4. So x equals negative 1/4. That's super easy, right?
Yeah.
So that's my first coordinate, my first x. Now to solve for y, all I do is plug this in for x over here. Are y'all with me? So I'm going to plug in negative 1/4 and negative 1/4. What did she leave off right here? The minus 2. So I just type that in my calculator, and what do you get? Negative 2.25. Or negative 2 1/4. And these notes will be posted. So if you get home and you're like, wait, what? You have the notes to go back and look over, okay? All right, at the bottom, tell whether your function has a minimum or a maximum. Guys, if it's a minimum, look right here, it's a happy face. If it's a maximum, it's a sad face. All right? And I want you to find the axis of symmetry in Vertex. So everybody look at the first example. X squared minus 6. Would this be a happy face or sad face? So would it have a minimum or maximum? A minimum, the smallest point. That would be my vertex. To find the axis of symmetry, you have to use the formula I taught you. Negative B over 2A. Now, everybody stop and look at this quadratic. Is it missing something? So this would be the A, right? 1x squared. But the B has to have an... So if there's nothing there, what would the B be? Yeah. So that would be your A, your B, your C. Are y'all good with that? So negative b would just be negative 0, which there's no such thing as a negative 0, but I can write it, over 2 times 1. Well, what's 0 divided by anything?
0.
So my axis of symmetry is x equals, that's because it's passing through that axis. So the vertex, the x value is going to be 0. And to solve for y, simply plug it in. What's 0 squared? What's 0 minus 6? Negative 6. All right, the next one. Is this a happy face or a sad face? Sad face. So is it going to have a minimum or a maximum? A maximum. Okay, how do you find axis of symmetry? Negative b over 2a. You don't have to memorize that. It's on your star chart. All right, so here's the example, Cameron, I was telling you about. Here's my a, here's my b. So if I have negative, well, what is b? Well, what's a negative times a negative? So it just cancels out and becomes a positive 1 over 2 times negative 2. Negative 1/4. Or negative 0.25. So that's my x value. To solve for my y, I'm just going to plug that in for x. So I'd do negative 2 times negative 1/4 squared minus 1 times negative 1/4 plus 10. I would just type that in my calculator, and you get 10.125. You could put it as a fraction if you wanted to. Now, the cool thing with quadratics is a lot of time you can see the axis of symmetry. You don't have to use the formula. So don't do more work than you have to. So look at the back. If I gave you this quadratic and you type it in your calculator, so go to y equals and type it in, 2x squared plus 4x minus 5. Could you fill out that table like we did yesterday? Hit second table. So negative 4, 11, negative 3, 1, negative 2, negative 5. Write that down, and then we're going to talk about it. As soon as I'm done. Okay, could I go solve for the axis of symmetry by negative b over 2a? Yes, but can you see the vertex? Can you see where it's peaking? What? Negative 5 is the y-intercept. Look, guys, everybody look, right here. This is the middle. Stop and look. That's the same, that's the same, that's the same. This is the only one that's different, right? This is the peaking spot. Do y'all see what I'm saying? That's the vertex. You could go solve and you're going to get the same answer. I'm just trying to show you that sometimes you can just see it. You can go to the table and look for that. Yeah. So, is this a happy face or a sad face? So is it a minimum or a maximum? Minimum. What's the axis of symmetry? It's just the x value. X equals negative 1, and the vertex is negative 1, negative 7. I could have gone and solved that, but why make your life hard when you can see it? But if you can't see it, then you do negative b over 2a. Okay, let's do this one. I'll fill out the table for y'all. So just write what I write, just to save some time. Don't say anything. I want you to look at the table and see if you see the vertex. If you do, circle it. Do y'all see the vertex? Look right here. These are the same. the same, and that's its peaking point. That's your vertex, 2, 5. Your axis of symmetry is the x value of the vertex. X equals 2. And did it have a minimum or a maximum? Oh, that's a happy face. Why did I draw a happy face? How do y'all feel about this? Easy. Okay, I don't think we need to do this example. It's the exact same thing. It tells you to graph it. We did that yesterday. All of these are the exact same thing. It's just showing you. If you go graph them, you can see the vertex. I mean, y'all want to do one more? Y'all got it? Okay, but listen to me. If the vertex is a decimal, you won't see it. It won't show up on the table. So if the vertex is a decimal, then what will you do to solve for it? Negative b over 2a. Make sense? Okay, I will pass out the homework, and